Good morning and welcome to Your Future is Now. And I am your host, Pastor Christopher Riley. Bishop Crystal will be back with us next month. I know you've been missing her, and I've been missing her too. And she sends her regards back in the space with us. But today we have an Fort Wayne's own Romeo Morris. Romeo, I'd like you to greet everybody in podcast land.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Romeo Morris, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
All right. Romeo, talk to us about the Romeo who graduated from Southside High School that was involved in many different activities, all around athlete, show choir member.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to leave Fort Wayne and go to Morehouse College?
Well, first and foremost, shout out to Southside High School. I'm a proud alumni of that great institution right across the street from us. When it comes down to it, like you said before, I was an all-around athlete. I played basketball, football, and track. Very active, and that actually started back when I was in middle school at Memorial Park Middle School. I was in show choir there. That started off kind of transitioning into high school, but I also did like key club, Spanish club, any activity that was offered, speech and debate, chess club, right? There were numerous opportunities, and I always found my interest to pursue after those. So for me, it was just one of those things where being involved was like one of my ambitions, right? I wanted to be proactive, right? And doing so really allowed me to meet some great people that still hold friendships to this day. And so for me, going to Morehouse College, actually it started with my uncle. He ended up going to Morehouse College in the early 2000s. At the time of me applying for the school, it didn't come top of mind for me that he had went there. But I had realized that when I was looking around for colleges, originally I wanted to go to UCLA, right? Because I was pursuing after law, but it ended up transitioning to looking into like top law schools. And then I saw Howard University. And when I saw Howard University, I said, wait, what's Howard University? What is this school? Because I saw nothing but black people there.
Wow.
Right? So I hadn't really dove into a conversation about HBCUs, but it really just kind of surfaced from some research, which then led to my uncle having a conversation about Morehouse College with me. And then when I looked into, originally, Howard was the school. Like, when I was going through the TRIO program at Purdue Fort Wayne, they were telling me, like, Romy, you have to apply to more than one school, because Howard was that school for me. But when it came down to it, it was Morehouse, IU Bloomington, and Howard University were the three schools I ended up applying to. Never heard back from Howard. No disrespect or anything like that, but I just never heard back from Howard when I applied. But in regards to applying to IU, I ended up having a full ride to IU Bloomington. And then I had no money at the time to go to Morehouse College. So that kind of was one of the bummer part of the journey, but the battle was Morehouse became that dream school for me. More than I realized, I knew that Morehouse College was a school I wanted to go to, and that I felt like I needed to go to, right? Just for what they were cultivating black men into becoming, right? This idea of wearing the crown, holding the crown over your head until you grow tall enough to wear it, right? That was something that spoke volumes to me, even from a distance, right? So I felt the pull to Morehouse, but I felt the pull to Morehouse, and I didn't necessarily know at that time if I had what it took to get there, right, which was finances.
Sure.
But I didn't let that stop me.
You mentioned earlier that you participated in the Upward Bound program, and you participated in TRIO. How did that program help you when you got to Morehouse?
Absolutely. So the TRIO program in itself is a phenomenal program. I'm so grateful for the opportunity of being a part of it. That in itself was able to instill in me some disciplinary attitude around applying for college and the opportunities that existed with college, really being hands-on with high school students, especially from low income or first generation, to do so, right? So as far as it goes with, the opportunity to learn and be able to be prepared in regards to knowing the steps to applying. The opportunities of applying for scholarships, some of the programming that they did as far as it goes with college visits and stuff like that here in Indiana, right? It really highlighted and opened my eyes up to the space of college, to put it on top of mind for me. That way, when it was time for me to start applying for it, I was just like, okay, let me start exploring other options, right? So really, like I said, I can't thank Upward Bound enough for the exposure that they gave me, because that really helped me develop and know what direction I wanted to go in.
While at Morehouse, you majored in sociology.
Yes, sir.
You're currently working in finance. While at Morehouse, you had an interest in politics. Talk about the dynamics of that shift.
Absolutely. So for me, the dynamics for me was always carrying an attitude of service, right?
Okay.
I just wanted to serve, right? My heart and my passion came from my mom. I pride the fact that she's always been a caregiver, right?
Yes.
From working in nursing homes to working in retirement homes, all the above. She's always been that type of person. So a lot of love, shout out to my mom. So as far as it goes with that, seeing her always be of service, I think it instilled in me. It's not that I think, it instilled in me the idea of what it is that I wanted to do, not with for work, but more so what I wanted to do with my time, which was be of service. So when it comes down to it, sociology for me, it is encompassing of the study of people, right? And I wanted to understand social issues to be able to develop scalable solutions for individuals, right? And to really make an impact on a large scale. So for me, it was never just politics, right? It was just the idea and the narrative that came around politics, around the space that it can provide opportunity for you to have that level of impact and power. Power is not necessarily something I was driven to, but it was an opportunity of impact. So when it came down to it, politics was, and I think I'm thankful for the opportunities that I had through my internship. So I worked in D.C., I worked on the Capitol Hill for a little bit. I've worked in local governments. I was the president of the Mayor's Youth Engagement Council. I ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. I was working for the current mayor. But he wasn't at the mayor at the time. He was a city council member at that time. But I had the pleasure of really being hands-on in various communities. I also went to Toronto. I wasn't necessarily in the space of politics, but I was learning about their political system while I was there.
And I'm sure that was interesting because that's a different country.
Absolutely. Yeah. And see, the drive for me was the fact that I felt like the utopian, that not necessarily utopian but more so just the dynamic of what they've built in their society, how well they get along, some of their policies around cultural understanding and appreciation. I really wanted to see how they were able to do that. So it just boiled down to the fact that I was just interested in learning how do they build the climate in the society that they have running. And when I was there, not only from outside looking in, excuse me again, but when I was also there, I got to see exactly that, right? I was there through this program called the Intern Group, right? Whereas everybody around the world had the opportunity to apply for this opportunity, and they only accept a certain amount of people from all over the world. And at the time, I was telling my friends, I said, hey, I want to do an internship abroad. It was like, why would you want to do that? I was like, well, it's something different. I hadn't heard anybody do it before. Thanks to a different world, yes. Dwayne actually did one. I think he was in Hong Kong or something.
Right.
Yeah. So actually that kind of inspired me because I was just like, hey, I've never heard of somebody doing that. I'm curious to see what opportunities lie out there for me to do that. So the Intern Group was something I stumbled across by simply typing in opportunities to intern abroad. And then from there ended up, I applied, got accepted into the program, selected because you could select from over 30 different countries. Toronto would happen to be the newest one at the time. I think they had just implemented Toronto as an option. And when I had I got accepted into that. And so it was about 7 or 8 of us from all over the world that went to Toronto and did their internship. Mine was with I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Circle something. I just can't remember the exact name of it. But all that to be said, I ended up doing that internship. But the group that I was with were from Hong Kong, New Zealand,
wow,
Ireland, right? And as I'm diving in and embracing the moment of being in a diverse community like that, and as a friend group, when we went out to different locations, different clubs and stuff like that, went out to eat, I was looking around and I said, wait, this is the norm, right? Like. I'm seeing the same type of demographic, friendship demographic.
Yes.
Here in my small circle that I thought was very unique at that time in Toronto, that was the norm. I said, oh, wow, this is beautiful. So I absolutely love Toronto's climate because of that. But all that to say, that exposure was really something I really yearned for because like I said, I've always had the passion of service, right? So it would boil down to it. service was my top of mind, and politics was just one avenue I wanted to take. But finances have been able to amplify that in numerous ways. I work with over 160 individuals where I aim to help improve the quality of their lives, and I absolutely love it, man. It's something that I didn't realize I would have a passion for because I wasn't aware of it, right? And that's
Okay.
why internships are so valuable. But all in all, it was just the exposure that it gave me that the opportunity that exists in this opportunity is just something that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
You mentioned your mom, and you mentioned your mom's influence. She said something to you after you had graduated from Morehouse that was so pivotal in your development. She told you you've got to keep your feet moving. Talk to our listening audience about that statement.
Oh man. So when my mom told me, it was during COVID. Thank you for so much for bringing that up. It was during COVID, and I had just graduated from Morehouse. I graduated early, so I graduated December 2019, and I was waiting around for Wayne to go and walk in the spring.
Yes.
And so, but COVID ends up happening, right? So our graduation subsides, and I'm like, man, like, first off, I didn't get to walk, so my family didn't get to see me graduate. And Morehouse has a really special tradition of their ceremonial exit for the graduates, and I missed all of that. So I'm hurt, right? I'm not only saddened by the fact that COVID is impacting everybody, but I'm just saddened by how it's impacting me as well,
Right.
And so one of the things about it was I sat down, and during COVID there was nothing to do, right? I literally stayed at home and woke up, did the same thing, and I didn't feel like I was driving myself, right, anywhere, right? Especially as a newly graduate, because that was a big thing where you heard a lot of people graduating with internships, et
Right.
cetera, or opportunities outside of postgraduate, and I'm here like, man, like I had things lined up, but I'm not going to be able to pursue them because those are out the window. All that to be said, COVID, when I was sitting down, my mom saw that I was slowly getting into depression, and I did get to a point of depression, right? I just felt like I wasn't being fulfilled in regards to knowing that my passion and the stuff that I was working towards and all that work that I had put in, I was just like, man, like I'm delayed now. So with that being said, my mom came to me and she said, Romeo, I try to allow you to, do your thing and be a man, right? But in this moment, I feel like you needed to hear this. The guy put it on my heart. She said, you got to keep your feet moving, right?
Yes.
Get out there and do something, right? So thanks to that, that really got me ignited to just find a job, right? Find any job. So I was packing. I was doing some packaging work. I started off just packing boxes. I was grateful for that because it gave me a humble spirit to
Yes.
be able to know that no matter where you start, it's not where you finish. So when it came down to it, I was packing those boxes, and I did that with pride. I enjoyed my job. I put my headphones on, and I did my job, right? And then as things started to open up post-COVID, I started to get bigger opportunities. So I was working as a real estate appraiser for the county for a little bit, worked as a manager for student recruitment for former community schools, and then I got this opportunity to work as a financial advisor with Edward Jones. And so through all that to be said, I realized the value of keeping your feet moving, because if you don't, right, and you stay still, nothing's going to come to you.
Absolutely.
But at least when you have yourself out there and you hold yourself out there, it at least allows for people to see you and opportunities to come to you and the opportunity for a blessing to arrive, So for me, it was just one of those situations where if it wasn't for my mom telling me keep my feet moving, I could be in a totally different position. I could be dwelling in the space of I should have, would have, could have,
Right.
But my mom said that's not you, right? I knew it wasn't me, but COVID makes you,
Yes.
it brought out sides of us that we really didn't realize, it wasn't necessarily I didn't realize I was, but it was something that you succumbed to just because you could not have it, you didn't have it in your control.
Absolutely. You talked about helping 160 people in the financial world. You're helping those individuals obtain true economic empowerment. Walk us through that process.
Absolutely. When it comes down to economic empowerment, and we talked about this off camera, but as far as it goes with that, it really highlights the idea of what do you have in your control to change your positioning, right? And it's as simple as having a plan.
Yes.
And
That'll preach for somebody.
Yeah, it's as simple as having a plan. Even if, and I tell people too, come to me if you just have questions, right? Because the thing about it is the education is just another layer of it. But having intentionality behind the plan is how you achieve certain goals, right? You can't
Right.
achieve a goal if you don't have it measurable. So as far as it goes with that, all the clients that I have, we always start off with simply understanding where's your debt, then understanding what's your budget, right? And then we talk about, for younger clients, I talk to them about their short-term goals, because the long-term goals, as far as it talks about with retirement, that's
Right.
further down the line for them. So, but in hindsight, what are your short-term goals and how do you want to achieve those today, right? Then when I talk to my older clients, okay, what's your long-term goals? Now that we're making this transition for retirement, what are your passions? What do you want to do with the remainder of your life? What trips have you not taken yet, right? What memories do you want to recreate for your family? And when I tell you those conversations are so valuable to me, they don't understand the individuals that I work with. They also pour into me just because I realize this is the true meaning of life, right? Money is just a tool that helps us, solve certain issues. But when it comes down to the dynamic of truly living and embracing life, it's about the memories we create. All right. So it's one of my great mentors. He talked to me about this. He said, when you talk to people, let them know that it's not about money. It's not necessarily about money with you only, but it's about the conversation about money or memories, right? Which one
Wow.
do you want to have more of? So when it comes down to it, I encourage that with every individual, but you can create better memories by having a plan, right? And just starting with that. And it's always better to have a foundation to be walking on uneven ground or sinking sand. So I truly believe that, and I carry that attitude with every client, and I'm very passionate about the work I do. One of my goals is to be the best financial advisor here in Fort Wayne and abroad, so that is truly a passion of mine that I enjoy doing, and I see myself doing this for a long time.
Well, you're definitely well on your way. Eyes have not seen nor ears have heard what God has in store for you. So keep up the great work. Remind our listening audience how they can get in contact with you.
Absolutely. So I'm not heavy on social media, but when it comes down to it, if you're interested in having a conversation with me around finances, you can reach me at 260-637-7227. You'll reach my amazing assistant, Tracy Meek. She's at my office, and she'll help put you on my calendar or even forward the call to me to be able to answer any questions that you may have. When it comes down to, like I said, I'm not on social media, so the best way to reach me regarding finances is to call my office, and I'll be glad to help you. Just start the conversation. Start today with developing a plan for yourself and knowing that the plan of action is in your control. So take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Many of our listening audience members know you as a community organizer, community activist, also know you as one that's heavily involved in the African American community. Talk about that passion and some of the things that you are connected to.
Absolutely. So for me, I've always been passionate about our community. Still to this day, that's the reason why I chose Morehouse College. When I found out about HBCUs, I said, wait, there's a space for us? I said, absolutely. So there was no ifs or buts about it. Shout out to IU, but Morehouse was where I needed to be, right? I'm so grateful for that opportunity. But when it came down to it, I've served on numerous boards throughout the community. Currently, I sit on the Three Rivers Festival board. I currently sit on the board for Southside Alumni, Indiana Black Expo. What else? I was in college. I was a part of. There was a auxiliary program called Collegiate 100, which is underneath the umbrella for 100 Black Men of America.
Wow.
So I served as the vice president for that organization. Shout out to the 100 Black Men of America. Still love that. And now not now, but I'm also heavily involved in my fraternity, which is Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated by way of Fort Wayne Alumni Chapter. Also shout out to Pi Chapter in Atlanta, Georgia, Morehouse College. But as far as it goes with that, I've always been passionate about being able to serve, especially our community, and diving in deep. We're trying to solve issues around that, right? So I pride myself on being front-facing a lot.
Yes.
I hold my reputation with high regard, high revere. And as far as it goes with serving, that's just something that's God calling me to do. And, so I try to spend my time developing solutions to issues or giving input and directions to elevate the community. That's something that is part of even what I do now with finances, right? When we talk about some kind of narratives that are painted around finances or financial liberation, financial stability, financial freedom, right? And I really want people to dive into understanding what did that truly mean for you, right?
Right.
Is great catchphrases, but what did it actually mean to you, right? What does wealth mean? Wealth doesn't mean you have $1 million, right? Wealth can mean something totally different, right? So defining that for you rather than just going, with the standard of just saying the words, right? So when it comes down to it, it's something that I'm thoroughly involved in, and like I said before, I spend my time trying to find ways of elevating the community and overall being of service to it as well.
You speak a lot about the power of mentoring, being a mentor and being mentored. How would you advise the older generation to mentor the younger generation?
Absolutely. So shout out to you as serving as one of my mentors, my great mentors. But as far as it goes with, the connectivity between the older generation and the younger generation, or I would like to say the more seasoned generation and the newly planted, when it comes down to it, it's really just an opportunity to hear and have conversations and not necessarily running away from this narrative of what you stroke with a large brush as the generalization of my generation or younger generations to be. Because I think the dynamic around that is you're going to miss the opportunity to really instill in somebody the words of wisdom that you've been able to obtain, right? And it's really one of those things where it's just, if we want to continue to move the needle forward, right, we need to hear, right? And we need to have conversations. And we have to be okay with disagreeing, because the thing about it is going to propel us forward as a community to accept the spaces of disagreement, but not allowing that to turn us away from doing the great work together, right? So as far as it goes with the mentorship, is valuable, right? It's valuable to have conversations outside of your space of expertise. I have a spiritual mentor, Brother K2. I have a business mentor, just a general mentor and all, Ron Lewis and Joe Jordan, right? Shout out to also Marshall White. So, excuse me. There's areas where I connect with individuals because I see them, right?
Yeah.
And I see how they carry themselves, and I see the aspirations of becoming a man that I want to be, the best version of myself. And so when I look at these men, I'm taking from them and I'm receiving from them, not taking, because I'm receiving from them their words of wisdom, how they've gotten to where they've become, some of the obstacles that they had to endure, right? In the space where you feel like you're the only one that's going through it, a mentor can tell you, like, no, that's part of the journey, right? It's not going to be easy. You're going to have these X, Y, and Z situations happen. How do you handle it? Or how do you present yourself? How do you want to come across, right? Those are the conversations that are so valuable, just because you realize that instead of having to learn it on the fly, you can learn it ahead of time. You can even though the situation, it's something that we say in our industry too. You spend all this time training until you get hit in the face, and then all your training goes out the window. Right. But the dynamic about it is, at least you have the, understanding and awareness that when it arises, it's like, okay, so what is at least the fundamental thing that I learned from that lesson, right? And we do that throughout life, and we're our seed is watered through the experience, right? And the opportunity is we can replenish that by passing it on to the next generation, to let them know this is how you can navigate these spaces, not to discourage, but to empower, right? Because the dynamic of it is the situation that you may have endured is not going to be the same situation that I endure, right? And it has to be given grace for that, because the dynamic is a lot of times when I was going through the situation with having a full ride to IU to go to Morehouse, right? People were like, go to IU, you have a full ride, that's right there. Why would I give that up to pay out loans? At that time, yes, I'm saying, no, I am going to Morehouse, right? In hindsight, no, I would even say that it was the best decision for me, right? And when it comes down to it, the reason why it was the best decision for me is because that was my dream, that was my passion, and I was willing to work to it and make it happen. And I ended up getting it for a ride to Morehouse College, and the dynamic about it was, if I would have listened to my mentors at that time, right, I might not have been there, right? So my circumstances could have been totally different. But what presented itself was, I hear you and appreciate your input, but this is something I feel like I need to steer in the direction of. And so giving way to that, because great things can kind of come out of the passion and commitment that an individual and a young person that you've talked to has, right? Instill in them the general knowledge and wisdom, right? And allow them to use it as their compass to navigate different situations. because like I said before, their situation can be totally different than yours, right? And appreciate that, right? Because appreciate the fact that even though it didn't work out for me, it's something that I was able to talk to this young person about, and it worked out for them, you know? And so it's something like that that I feel like mentoring allows. And I echo the fact that it's valuable just because wisdom, right? And the opportunity to connect and passing the torch, right? That's essentially how we continue this thing rolling.
You're definitely a living testimony of God giving you the desires of your heart. You desire to go to Morehouse. Initially, the money may have been an obstacle, but God removed those obstacles. In the few minutes that we have left, I would like for you to encourage Fort Wayne and talk about your vision for the city. You know, we're experiencing a lot of change in leadership. Shout out to newly elected Mayor Sharon Tucker and newly appointed or elected 6th District Councilwoman Roly Booker. So a lot of changes. So advise Fort Wayne or tell us about your vision for the city.
Well, first and foremost, shout out to Sharon Tucker and Ms. Riley Booker. As far as it goes, Mayor Sharon Tucker, let me correct myself. But when it comes down to my vision, really, it's a vision for everyone, right? It's a vision of let's continue to do the great work together. Let's find our way to continue to develop programming in the community, to evolve and cultivate a space of education, a space of empowering, a space of, harvesting wisdom and having that be able to be passed on to the next generation. My ambition is to be a part of that movement, right? Of ongoingly educating, ongoingly empowering, ongoingly showing face and showing up for people in a way that, they need, right? And I think we have a great time here in Fort Wayne, an opportunity more so to do that. So that's my vision for Fort Wayne, is just continue to empower and be of service.
And what's next for Romeo Morris?
What's next for me is in God's hands. I'm following his orders and following his steps.
We want to take a couple of minutes to promote an upcoming event. It's Healing in Harmony, a men's gathering, Saturday, May 27th, 2024, from 9 to 11 at New Covenant Worship Center. New Covenant's located at 3420 East Paulding Road, right here in the Summit City. And the pastor is the great Luther Whitfield. So definitely want to stop by the Healing in Harmony men's gathering. Dr. Joel is going to be the speaker. So you definitely want to go out and hear from him. That's Joel Tudman. So Joel Tudman will be the author and speaker for that particular event. So I'm sure that we'll have that flyer posted, on your screen. So again, Romeo, we thank you for taking time to join us today, taking time out of your busy schedule. Please remind the listening audience how they can reach you for financial planning.
Absolutely. So feel free to reach me at 260-637-7227. Again, that will go directly to my assistant, Tracy. And she'll be glad to forward you to me or either add you to my calendar so we can meet in person. I also want to thank you all for the opportunity. It is very humbling and something that I don't take for granted, for the recognition that you all have given me. So I'm so thankful for that, Dr. Riley, so Mr. Riley. So when it comes down to it, thank you and the entire team. Thank you.
Absolutely. We thank you. And we'll definitely have to have you come back as the business evolves and as God continues to take Romeo Morris to higher heights. Also, are you available to speak to young people and just to be a mentor and to talk about your road to success?
Absolutely.
All right. So call on him. He's one of our great leaders. He's definitely a local leader making a global impact. Once again, we are out of time. We thank you for joining us on Your Future is Now. As I said in the beginning, Bishop Crystal will be back next month, so I'm sure you'll be glad to see her. But once again, we thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, an investment in a young person's future today is a profitable gain tomorrow. Be blessed.